Meet Nate Banks. Nate is not just in the sock business, he is the sock business. A third-generation sock manufacturer, his family's been crafting high-quality socks since the 1940s. Hailing from what was once the sock capital of the U.S., where over 130 factories once thrived, today only 2 remain, and Nate runs one of them. With millions of pairs sold, he's keeping the tradition alive while innovating for the future of American-made socks. Nate, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, glad to be here, Jordan. Glad to be here.
Guys, I'm trying out these new intros here. You know, before it was just kind of like laissez-faire, and now, you know, I'm really trying to go for it with this whole YouTube thing here. So thank you everyone who's stuck around and listened to me over the years. It's been like 6 years or something like that, talking about e-commerce. I'm pumped to have Nate on. Nate, for people who don't know anything about you, tell us just a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so I'm Nate Banks. I'm a third-generation sock manufacturer based out of Western North Carolina. My family has been in the sock business since the 1940s. I own and operate with my brother a vertically integrated manufacturing facility still here, literally down the street from where my grandparents once folded socks in their living room to get started.
Wow.
We pride ourselves in a few different ways, one being kind of like a niche boutique manufacturer, meaning, Jordan, you could call us up and say, hey, I'm looking for socks with my face on it, and I'll make you 90 pair and they can ship within 2 to 4 weeks. We also are a contract manufacturer and work with some of the biggest global brands out there. And also,
I'm assuming you can't tell me who those are.
I cannot. No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And then when I came back to the family business, it was all about, everybody was already transitioning away. So it was all about, how can I create a moat for my family? My brother he literally grew up in the business. So he worked on the knitting machines, and I come from the e-commerce product world. So I thought this was a good opportunity for us to join forces, and that's it.
Cool. Super interesting to me that you are, you know, 2 of the, 140 factories that stuck around. I have to think that some of that has to actually do with D2C, right? Being able to, like, I can imagine that a lot of those factories weren't able to get into the D2C, and like even this like whole vertically integrated sock factory. Has D2C been a huge part of your strategy?
Yeah, 100%. And a lot of it has to do with timing as well, Jordan, right? So if you think about it, when my brother came along and we became vertically integrated in the early 2000s, the factories down the road had 1,000 knitting machines. They were producing millions of socks a week, right? They were the ones selling to Walmart. Our little old factory were the ones that would put your face on a sock, and we were hyper custom before hyper custom even became a thing. So we learned how to do the difficult thing first, which is super unique, and then the timing of e-commerce and D2C I thought was a perfect marriage, because we already controlled lean inventory because we controlled the manufacturing along with SKU counts. We could. So when D2C came out for us, it was like, wow, why don't we just showcase what we can do from a product standpoint? We can literally make the best socks out there. And then if we have a marketing spin, then we should resonate with consumers depending on what customer we're going after. And so it was a perfect marriage with D2C, and it is 1,000% our North Star on how do we create the moat a little bit larger around the factory, and that being our own brands, because ultimately that is the future of this factory.
Well, I think that it's the future of a lot of commerce, right? Like, especially, I mean, we see, what happened this last weekend, right? We're recording this right after, the weekend after the first tariff war. And it was terrifying, right? I mean, I'm in Canada, right? So as a Canadian, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is going to kill Canadian manufacturing. But if some of these tariffs do at some point go through, it is going to bolster in some sort of way American manufacturing. I definitely see this being the way, right? In the future, I think that we're going to have, at least for the next at least 4 years, I think that we're going to see more of this vertical integration, and then introduce AI and robotics and all of these things in. I think that factories are going to be able to spring up a lot faster. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, I agree with most of what you're saying. I think you have to adapt, right, with things you can't control. So one of those things, if it be tariffs or duties or taxes or whatever it may be, people are going to find a way to make it work. I will say this from my point of view. I've lived the manufacturing world my entire life, 44 years. Manufacturing is extremely, extremely difficult. And I really don't care what you make. But for me in socks, there's still a lot of raw materials to procure. There's still a lot of labor and a lot of hands-on. But what you're getting at is, if being that we're already established helps us, right? Because I don't have to outfit, build, and bring in all the equipment, all the raw materials, all the labor. But what we can do is find a way to advance with innovation and technology. One of those is automation, obviously. Automation where it can happen. And then AI where it can be applied, which is everywhere in our business. And I think with those two things, the future's bright, along with the demand for domestic manufacturing is going to continue to grow, if not boom, soon.
So let's get into D2C here, because I think this is really interesting. You started about 12 years ago. I'd love to hear some of the evolution that you've seen in D2C, because we're in 2025 right now. Things are not looking good for a lot of brands, right? Like, you and I we interact on Twitter, and it's incredible to see how gloom and doom things seem like right now in D2C. And I'd love to hear what your evolution has looked like and sort of where you see things.
Yeah. Oof. Yeah. And by the way, the Twitter or X D2C community is amazing. It's a fantastic highlight of my day, even though right now it's a bit doom and gloom. But let me back up a little bit. I got my first job working for a furniture manufacturer. He was a brilliant guy, literally started a company from nothing into a $500 million furniture company. He was a marketing genius, and I got to work under him. And it was fascinating. Within my first year in 2006 or 7, I wrote him a letter and I said, the future of e-commerce. And I said, we need to transition the factory away from selling retail and having our own shops all over the United States to selling online. So he called me into his office probably a week later. I can't remember exactly what he says, but it was basically like, first off, you have some cojones to come here and tell me that I need to do this for my business. Second, we're not going to do it. And this is why. And it made complete sense now that I'm a business owner, that the reason why he didn't want to do it. But before I left, they were building out the e-commerce channel, the D2C.
Yeah.
And shortly after that, it became the largest part of their revenue. So that was where I got my first taste. And then once I went and worked for a very large company in socks, I realized it was kind of not the game that was the future. And I really saw my family's factory as being like, wow, this is just an incubator for D2C and getting our name out there.
Totally.
That was in 2012, 2014. That was when you put $1 in Facebook, you get a lot back. It was easy. It was really easy.
We're not in that world, just so everyone knows. Anyone listening to this, in the future, maybe in the future you've gotten back there before, but.
Absolutely. So it was super fun. Just for ourselves, selfishly in our own brands, it felt like, every decision you made was a great one because money was being made. We got to make great product. And then, from the factory standpoint, we had all these people coming to create these new businesses. And it was so exciting. Like anybody from the country all over the world would call us and like, I want to create a brand. And a lot of them were super successful, which was amazing. I mean, just picture that, right? You've had this factory that's doom and gloom back in the 90s,
totally
early 2000s. All of a sudden, 12 years later, everybody wants to make, product with you again. It was amazing. And then, obviously the security updates and things change. And I mean, just reality, right? So the complete opposite has happened. But at the end of the day, I feel so strong about direct to consumer, especially from where I stand, my perspective of a business owner and owning a factory, that we have to find a way. I mean, we just have to. It's not going to be perfect, but where there's a will, there's a way type of thing.
So in your perspective, what is the next evolution? Because I think that we're right at the precipice of it, right? Like we're having these same discussions I remember last year, right around this time. Meta's broken. It's not working. Things aren't working. I think that some of us found some solves on that. I've gone really hard over in social commerce and TikTok shop and all of that and gone heavy towards creators. What do you see on the other side of this, right? Because I think we can see, so I started my very first brand so I actually owned a restaurant at the time. And I started my first brand in 2014 and I sold hoverboards. And I didn't use Facebook ads to sell hoverboards. I used Google, right? That was just like the normal thing that you would use then. And so I learned how to, write keywords. And remember, I took this what was his name? Isaac somebody. I took his Google course on Udemy and it was so good. And I was like, okay, I understand how to do this. And that's where I sold lots of hoverboards. It's just like, I didn't like selling somebody else's product, which is why we then created a bunch of brands and companies and bought a bunch of stuff because I loved that portion of it. But there was a big shift then into Facebook, right? And then that's how we grew our first clothing company. And we worked very closely with our manufacturer. They actually ended up buying our company recently. And so we were right around the manufacturing and loved that portion of it and being able to produce something amazing. But there was that portion. And I think that we're coming into something new. I want to hear your take. What is it?
Let me preface this by I am no expert and I certainly don't have a crystal ball and I wish I did. I think anybody that thinks they know is a little bit off. I think there are signs that there could potentially be another black swan moment. I don't know if it happens on Meta. I don't know if it's TikTok Shop sticking around. I don't know if it's a combination of all of them. All of that I can tell is there's a technology here that is revolutionizing everything like a year into it. And it's getting so smart so fast. And that technology is AI. And what it does with agents, what it can do to help you build your systems within your own infrastructure. It might create so much efficiency in across the board, right? Whether it's tangible stuff like inside my factory and maybe move this yarn here or there or procure this, all the way downstream to what Meta and what emails look like. And maybe that's it, right? Because if data is getting lost and attribution and all these models are wrong or not exactly right, then it's hard to really make decisions like it was 10 years ago or 8 years ago.
Totally.
Maybe AI brings that type of knowledge back. That's not a security issue.
I still don't understand how these models are going to bring us to make purchase decisions. I think I can see it in Perplexity. I think that makes a lot of sense, the way that Perplexity is. What I'm trying to figure out is like, are people going to fundamentally shift the way that they purchase? It's why I'm going all in on creators, right? Because I think that humans want. So what I've been trying to figure out, and I'm a little bit younger than you, but we're kind of in the same category. I haven't quite hit 40 yet, Nate. I'll be 39 next week. But I feel like we've been around long enough now to realize, like, I think I can look at a cycle like this and be like, okay, let's think about the principles of what humans want. And I really think that they want human interaction, right? That's why I don't think that AI avatars on platform are going to work, because I think we want and we crave human interaction. Like, I can't wait till the next D2C event just to see people, right? Just to be like, I want to be in person with people. And I think that's why I'm going all in on creators, because I think that's what people want, but they want genuine, they want genuity. They want genuineness, whatever that is, whatever that word is. And they want trust, right? Yeah. I think that those things will never really go away. So that's kind of where I'm coming from it with. I'd love to hear your thoughts there.
Oh, I would double down on what you said for sure. I mean, it already shows itself, right? It's like so much content can be created. And even when it's real humans, right? Think of just IG and influencer world. Some of it comes off so inauthentic. And I think, to what you said, when it comes to how people sell, right, there's going to be so much artificial content out there. It's already starting, right? It's already here. But
totally.
There's going to be so
LinkedIn,
more,
anyone?
Right. And then video. And so you see it everywhere, right? So I think the brands that are going to be successful are the ones that can cut through it and become authentic. And a little bit of a piece of success that we've had is, we make pretty socks, and we advertise those socks and they look different than everyone else. The ads just didn't do well. So I pivoted and posted a training video for an ad last year. And I was just standing in front of a wall with socks because I'm really passionate about what I do, and it cut through. And then I just realized, like, oh yeah, people just want to hear from people.
Yeah.
I think sports are going to grow because of that. So yeah, just authenticity, you can't argue against. Human to human interaction, you can't argue against. And if you can connect the two with a way to sell your product that is still good, then I think you're going to find success.
I think you're totally right. I heard a great interview on Tim Ferriss recently with Chris Sacca, and they were talking all about, like, what exactly is AI going to bring, right? Mm-hmm. And what are you going to be able to actually do? Like, remember, I don't think we all really understand the reality that most jobs that all of us do will not exist, right? Like they will be gone. If we're here now, they will be gone. And so what are we going to do, right? Beyond, like, let's just say that this is going to be the golden age, right? And that we're all going to like actually be able to figure out, especially like guys like you and me, like we're gonna be able to figure out how to make money during this time, right? I'm not worried about that portion. What I'm worried about is meaning, right? Like, where do we find meaning? And like, I think that creating incredible things for people that make their life better there's meaning in that, right? But what happens when there's, 50% of the population just doesn't have a job, right? And so, what some of the conclusions that they came to is that these community gatherings and these community spaces that we're going to come towards each other, right? And we saw what happened during COVID, like the mass amount of like depression, and even like when you look at people and like weight gain and health and like everything that happened when we were separated was horrible. I think that was hell. That was hell on earth because we were so separated from each other. And I think what we're going to do as humans is come closer together. And so whatever kind of commerce happens like that, I think that's going to win.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That's a very, very deep topic to think about, right? Is how this technology is going to shift just humankind and how we interact with each other. Yeah. And again, I don't know. I'm obsessed with the topic of AI and how it is. Again, our basic nature is the reason why we're successful as a species is because of the way we communicate, literally.
Yeah.
The reason. So fundamentally, it's in our DNA to have those type of communications. So hopefully, over time we get a grasp on what this technology means, and hopefully it just benefits us. And always the goal is human interaction, whether it's geopolitical or anything. We're better companies, we're better countries when everybody communicates. So hopefully that will be the case. And just, little bots aren't rolling around everywhere trying to communicate for us. It's still a very human thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's working for you right now? It's 2025. We're recording this in February. What is working as far as marketing, getting your product out there, making money? At the end of the day, I think we went through this big time frame where it was okay. I was just talking to a SaaS founder. I do some SaaS founder consulting, which I love, by the way. And he was telling me about pricing, right? And how price sensitive people are right now. And I was reiterating, I'm like, I understand. I'm like, you're going to have to build the judge me version of whatever you're doing because people are so price sensitive, because the curtain has been drawn down and we all are lifted and we all realize, man, we were not making money like we thought we were during that time, right? Because it was just growth. I'm throwing out a lot there. I'd love to hear your thoughts, Nate.
So to be in business this long, you make a lot of mistakes. That's clear. That's just the experience, and that's the reality. Hopefully you learn from them. Hopefully I have. 2024, was certainly rough. There was a tsunami of just personally in my life. There was some stuff going on. And then, as a business, at some point, if your focus is building, which I was, with building brands, building companies, you lose sight of a few other things just because you're mainly focused on that. And then you turn around, you've kind of caught the car, if you will, and you're looking back and you're thinking, okay, I got some stuff to clean up. That was 2024 for us and my brother and I. Still a lot of success, and we were great. I think one thing is coming into 2025 with a reasonable expectation of understanding what world we live in. There is no get rich. There's only work hard and figure out, and then be happy with the results. Because at the end of the day, for me personally, I'm still my own boss. I get to create things. I still make ads to this day myself. I mean, it's truly a passion and a love, and I have more fun doing that. And at the end of the day, one of our brands that creates socks that actually benefit people, that's where I'm getting my appreciation and going home and seeing my family or being able to pick my kids up. But specifically, what works? Systems work.
Totally. Yeah.
And as soon as you implement those systems, the better success you're going to have, even if that success is measured in stress at night. Less stress at night because the systems are in place to handle themselves in whichever the wind blows for your business. So I would focus on that. And then where we are is just understanding in some of our business that it is seasonal and being able to adapt to those seasonalities and those changes. And if it's a big swing, How do we adapt and make sure that we're maximizing it when it's a big swing and when it's a low swing? How are we not running around super stressed that we're not performing, right? Because just some things are out of our control. I talk about socks every day. Jordan, you do not think about socks every day, right? So
those socks are one of my favorite things in the world, by the way. Like one thing that I always promised myself was that I was going to buy a lot of new socks. I just love a new pair of socks so much. Like I probably buy a new, I don't know, 8 to 12 pack every couple of months because I just love how they feel. So I do. That's as much as I think about socks.
Yeah. So every few months, right, you buy a fresh pair of socks. I mean, that's another cool thing for me, right? I make a product that actually people spend their whole entire life with.
Yeah.
And getting a little deep here about but you'll recognize my passion is most people wear not good socks. So whenever I have a chance, if I'm going to a convention or I'm going to like a marathon event and have a booth, I will give people a pair of socks. It's actually cheaper for me to give somebody a fresh pair of new socks for them to try on, but they have to try them on right there. And once they do, I have a customer, and that customer's cost per acquisition was $1 or whatever it cost me to make the sock. I just throw out $1. So, yeah, I mean, I'm just happy in the fact that, you know, there's pros and cons with anything you do in business, but or what your business is. And that's one thing that's cool for us is, you know, we actually make something that people wear every day. And you can make a difference in that. So,
Nate, what's one thing that you used to believe that you just don't believe anymore?
About D2C or about life?
Sure. You can go any way that you want with this one, Nate.
That's a great question, man.
While you're thinking on there, I think the reason why I like this question so much is that we don't give enough credit to people who change their mind, right? I think that changing your mind is, some people will be like, oh, they don't stand for anything. It's like, well, actually, they just got new information, right? And we evolve and learn. And the amount of times that I've seen one thing a certain way and then come at it in a different direction, I'm like, no, I think I was wrong at that point. And you slowly evolve. And I think that the people that can do that more often are happier, right? I think people are happier when they don't have to stick to this like stringent, these stringent viewpoints that just don't serve them anymore and aren't true.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not evolving, then at some point things are going to change, whether you were right or wrong. Yeah. And then let's say you were wrong and you didn't recognize that you were wrong. Then you have to plant that flagpole and be defensive your whole entire life about X, Y, and Z that you're trying to defend. And that's just not the reality. So I think in most cases it would benefit everybody, regardless in business or in life. And I'm no guru, but to understand that you don't know everything and be totally comfortable with that, because there's going to be times to where you question yourself and you question what you thought was right, and just things change, and that's okay. But if your baseline is at 0, then you can make decisions and you're calm. Usually you come out being right at that moment, and it's going to change in the future too. So be water, I guess.
I love it. Did you come up with an answer here?
Yeah, I guess so. If there's something I don't believe anymore, man, there's a lot of politics happening, and I don't want to dig into that, but I think, you know, maybe we should open up Pandora's box a little bit and figure out, you know, what is truth, and, you know, were we told 100% of the story? I don't know. But you know, COVID did a lot for people, and I think it opened up people's minds, right or wrong. Something happened to where it changed everything, and you know, it's frustrating to a point, right? Being a business owner where I employ, you know, just 100 people. Those are 100 people that lives could have changed, and there was a bunch of hoops to jump through. So I think just top level, maybe we should do our own investigations of things that are happening. So that's something yeah, go ahead.
Totally. So I'm actually, that's very interesting, because I'm with you too. I remember at the beginning of COVID when people would say like, oh, I'm just going to do my own research. And I'm like, that's stupid. Like, just listen to people who know what they're talking about. I've totally changed my mind on that, because first of all, we have the most prolific, smart, and amount of information at our fingertips at any moment that we want. The amount, like one of my best friends, he's a doctor, and him and his wife are both doctors. And I go to ChatGPT way faster than I go to him, because his knowledge and what he believes is outdated already, right? Like it's already outdated. And then look at like deep research now that, most people are going to be getting access to soon. Within 5 minutes, I can do more research on a topic than somebody could in a month. Right. And figure out what actual truth is. Right. And I don't think it's like my truth or your truth. It's the truth. Right. Like where we're coming to these conclusions, and COVID did bring up a lot of that. Right. It's interesting because you and I, again, are both on Twitter, and you'll see like there's a lot of opinion about things. Right. There's a lot of opinion about things, and especially in e-com. Right. Everyone has their own opinion about stuff because there's different brands and different things work for different brands. And we're all selling to millions upon millions of different people. So of course, one thing is going to work for one brand and not another. Me having an agency, it's like there will be certain companies who come in, especially on TikTok Shop, who it's like, hey, we thought this was going to work and it doesn't. Like, it's like, there wasn't the customer there. We didn't realize that wouldn't actually work over there. Okay, let's learn. I think that there's something in that's really special to be able. I think it's humility. I think that's what it comes down to. It's like there's this humility that you need to have as somebody in business that brings you there. Nate, I'd love to ask you the question I ask everyone who comes on the podcast. What is your secret to scaling?
Secret to scaling for me is, if I'm being honest, it's just being relentless. And there's this drive to scale. Obviously, so that's inherent, right? That's at the very beginning. Call it confidence, call it self-confidence, that I'll just figure out a way that I have to make this work. My grandparents were folding socks, and we're one of the last factories left. Let pride be a part of it, whether that's good or bad, right? So I guess the engine starts with that. And then I press the gas pedal on humility for one, and saying, I know I don't know everything. I'm certainly not the smartest, but maybe I can attach myself to very smart people that can help me lead this car down the direction to scale. And then to answer your question directly, scaling is very hard. And I will always go back to systems. If systems aren't in place, then it makes scaling really difficult.
Yeah.
And that's systems from accounting, that's systems from raw material procurement, labor, et cetera, et cetera. One thing for us, Jordan, right or wrong, but this tells you like how much we don't know. Meaning like me at the factory, we have the ability to create and make, which is special. Then we have the means to create brands as well. We also ship all of our own products. So we literally do everything from product design to production to management, inventory. And what I have found looking back at it is that the right move? I don't know. Because the complexities, it might be better to hand off one of those things to somebody else and let them worry about it. So I that could be a part of what I'm learning also is you don't, just because you can control every aspect, maybe you shouldn't, because there's a certain amount of bandwidth each of us have, and understanding that is paramount. So yeah.
Focus. One of the core values that I have personally, and I have, and I see across, and I feel like I pick it up in every business book that I read. I pick it up when I'm talking to smart people, and it's discipline, right? And I think systems are part of that, right? Like we have the core value of discipline equals freedom, right? And at first you're like, you look, as a 20-year-old, you look and you're like, oh, those people, like, no, freedom actually gives me freedom, right? And then you realize, you get into like our age, and like this year I lost about 40 pounds. And I, within about the last year, I stopped drinking. I stopped all of these things that were like, these are not serving me anymore. And it was incredible what happened to me when I did that, when I was disciplined. And disciplined people taking disciplined action creates incredible things, and it creates freedom for us. That's what I hear when I hear you say systems too. It's like, hey, trust these systems that you've built, right? Build systems, not little tasks throughout the day, right? Nate, I'm going to ask you a couple more questions. I hope that you're ready.
Yeah. And I love that. I love the word discipline as well, right? Like I'm a huge Jocko guy and follow all those people.
Totally.
Yeah. I mean, at our age, especially if you have kids and you have business, discipline helps your family run better. It helps your businesses run better. It creates health. for yourself if you choose to go down that path. So discipline is super important.
Absolutely. First question for you. Favorite tool or app that you're using right now?
Favorite tour app?
Tool or app?
Oh, yeah. So it's ChatGPT. That's for sure.
I can't imagine this world now without AI. I was thinking the other day of like, what would my workflows look like? Like it's so integrated. I feel like a cyborg now. Like it's like you're so integrated with AI that I can't even imagine what life was like before.
Yeah. I mean, so for me, it's like, it's ChatGPT and Canva, and it's just revolutionized. So I'm a graphic artist at the very beginning. That's what I was.
Yeah.
I feel like with ChatGPT and Canva together with a few other apps that I am literally a one-man marketing show. Like
Totally.
I used to do 60-page furniture catalogs, the old school Illustrator way.
Yeah, on Illustrator, of course. Yeah.
And I could do a 60-page. I'm not doing a 60-page. It's doing a page, and I'm just finessing. So I would say those. And let me add, even ChatGPT personally, right? Like I tweeted you, I think, and I got this idea. I was like, yeah, I'm going to create a podcast with ChatGPT, and I'm going to say, hey, I want you to be basic, like around Lex Friedman's podcast, and you ask me questions every day on my way home and to work. And really what I was trying to get out of that, Jordan, is we all have a lot of internal thoughts, but rarely are we asked the tough questions or good questions like you just did me, where I was stumped and trying to figure out. And I think like even AI doing that, it's a bit of a therapy session for one, and it's kind of
totally
cool. And then it's so random because the questions are coming either like from philosophy, history, or business. And you really get to articulate and hear yourself articulate. And then it records it too. And then you can come back and finesse kind of your ideas. And it's just a powerful tool, and I think it's super cool.
Well, I do have one more question for you, and this one might be a tough one. You just found out you have a year to live. What changes?
I want to give an answer like nothing, right? Because there's some truth to that. I'm in the part of my life where my family, I have 2 kids, a great wife, and a business that I'm super passionate about. I would hope that I would still show up to work every day and want to create something, because it's just not about me. It's about generations. It's about my family. And I have nieces and nephews that might want to come into this business. So I would do whatever I could in those 365 days to position this company to be as strong as it could. And then outside of the company, the next place I want to go is home and to my family. So I don't know if too much changes. I do know I would breathe a lot more, and I would relax in the morning really early, which I already do. I'm a super early riser. I would take that time to be one-on-one with the higher power, or whatever we want to call it.
That's great. I got the chance to have this question last year. We went through, one of our companies went bankrupt, and it was just this huge thing.
Following that.
And I had millions upon millions of dollars of liability, personal liability, that came due. And so it was a bit of a reset. It was really interesting because it was this reset from this fictional character I'd created of Jordan that was all of these things and had all of this stuff. We owned tons of real estate, and we owned all this kind of stuff. And it really allowed my wife and I to reset and think like, wait, what actually matters? And it's really interesting. So we're, in our late 30s right now, and we decided to have another kid because we're like, we just love our family so much.
Right.
And I don't know, it's such an exercise in, I feel like having, I hope everyone gets the ability to have a reset and realize and ego stripping, right? I hope everyone gets that chance, because I can already tell it's coming back. I'm doing very well right now. And I'm like, oh, I don't want that. I do, like, it's great. It's great to have the scorecard, but I don't want that for the ego. And, yeah, anyway, just some more thoughts.
You're looking at it through the right lens, like this perspective that you have now. Success is not going to do the same thing it once did, probably. And,
totally.
Last year, Jordan, I had a son who was born prematurely. I spent 4 months in the NICU running a business. And when you go through that, and that was my second child, same as you in the liability in that, like it changes you, and hopefully it changes you for the better, and you're more humble, and it strips the ego, which is super important. And then that way you just view the world completely different. You view business different. I guess your wants, my wants are different. So I can relate in a different way, but kind of the same thing was happening to me.
Nate, thanks for showing up here and having such a good conversation. I really, really appreciate it. And guys, we didn't get into too much e-com, but I hope that there was a lot of value here for you guys.
Jordan, thank you, man. That was great.